Now, look, we posted this 2 days ago. Kurt Nimmo wrote a story called Madsen, Taliban imported to conduct false flag terrorism in Iraq. And Kurt wrote a nice story, but kind of a standalone story about Madsen's claims. Ladies and gentlemen, they used radical Muslims to attack the Serbs, the CIA did. They used them to attack the Russians and the Russian-backed government in Afghanistan in '79 to elicit the full invasion, to draw them in. Brzezinski wrote about that in Bragg's. They caught the British SAS in 2006, dressed up like Arabs, shooting at U.S., British, and Iraqi forces in Basra. We're going to put up some photos of them caught with the fake beards. This is admitted. Israel, Haaretz has the headlines, Israel created fake al-Qaeda, staged fake attacks in Israel as a pretext to end peace deals. This was being done in Iraq, the IEDs, to blame it on Iran. They kept trying to frame Iran, and it kept coming out in the news that it was U.S.-made weapons, the components. Now, I want you to know, if you're listening, there's a good chance there was some real mujahideen, as they're called, or the military calls them hajis, trying to kill you in Iraq. But a lot of that was over turf. Most of the killings were al-Qaeda brought in. And they're using the same al-Qaeda out of western Iraq on record. The White House admits this, to attack Iran for the last 5 years. And the White House has admitted that. Number 3 in al-Qaeda works for the CIA. So I want to bring Wayne Madsen up, who worked for the NSA and many other federal secretive agencies, syndicated columnist, and writes for some of the biggest publications in the country. I wanted to have him on because he put out stuff that is a new development about basically hajis being brought in, jihadis being brought in out of Afghanistan, the same group they brought into Pakistan in the airlift of evil after the U.S. took over Afghanistan. That was a stage takeover, 2001. That was in the Times of London. So this is all really hidden in plain view. Wayne Madsen, break down the facts here for us.
Well, I was told by a very credible source that in 2007, a 40-foot-long tractor trailer was stopped on the Qaeda Bridge in Baghdad. And when the Iraqi police looked in the back, they found about 30 to 40 Taliban fighters from Afghanistan. They said they were brought in by the United States to create mayhem. When the U.S. forces showed up, they told the Iraqis, let these people go. So here we have again another one of these cases from, like I say, a very credible source. I was also told and shown a list of members of Muqtada al-Sadr's Mehdi army that were constructing these IEDs. And again, nothing was done to shut down this, what was called a bomb-making cell. Again, in the Qaeda district of Baghdad, the same location where the Taliban were stopped. So we have at least two well-documented cases where U.S. forces interceded to basically look the other way, take no action against...
well, it's more than that, Wayne.
Right.
I mean, if you're saying they're bringing in Taliban, which has been confirmed separately in the past, and they're using those Wahhabist-connected people out of the west of Iraq to attack the Iranians, you're saying they're also funding Shiite al-Sadr?
Yes, absolutely. Now, that's not to say that Iran's government was involved, but certainly there was an active role by the United States in allowing some of this stuff go on. And how many U.S. troops and coalition forces, and let's not forget the Iraqi civilians who were killed in these explosions, these car bombs, these roadside bomb attacks.
Why would they want to do this? Why would they want mayhem as a pretext to keep the forces there and then stop the staged bombings and say, oh, look, the surge worked?
Well, of course, what we heard from the people like Cheney and the neocons was we can't pull out because, look, we got al-Qaeda now, called al-Qaeda in Mesopotamia, a group that never existed before we got there. I would also note that the neocons and the Bush administration always said that these irregular forces, these insurgents, were coming across from Syria. And I was told by very good sources that they were coming from Saudi Arabia. That was the border that they were crossing, and not Syria. Of course, they needed an excuse to try to hit Damascus and occupy Syria after they did that to Iraq.
Wayne Madsen, this is just adds to the mountain of evidence. I mean, you're an expert on this. Can you go back and talk about with Brzezinski? I mean, he's written 2 books bragging about it himself, bragging how they use these Wahhabists mainly, but you're saying also Shiites There's evidence to always stage events all over the world to destabilize or topple governments. And tie that into what happened in Basra with the SAS caught dressed up as Wahhabis running around shooting at British and Iraqi forces?
Right, and I would also note that today in the Financial Times, Brzezinski's got a column where he's urging Obama to take a tough stance when he meets with the President Medvedev in Moscow very soon. And I would note that we were also behind some of the Chechen guerrillas that were attacking Russian forces in that country. There were links to Turkey, which is a NATO country, and also to Saudi Arabia. So this not only happened in Iraq, but also in Bosnia and in Chechnya. And I was recently told that by another credible source that there are now election monitors in Afghanistan from Bosnia, and some of these people were linked to the Bosnian Muslim forces, some of whom were working quite closely with bin Laden when he was active in that Bosnian civil war. So, we got Bosnians going to Afghanistan, Taliban going to Iraq. It looks like, some people just been playing some pretty bloody games here.
Without getting too much into your sources, I mean, most of this is already mainstream news. This is just another case that you're going over, and I've talked to the troops that have talked about how they catch or kill these Wahhabists and then get in trouble and are told to stop it. And the Marines have caught Israelis and others as well carrying out these type of attacks dressed up like Arabs. But the big question here is, why are you being given more of this information now? Is this coming from military people, intelligence people? Are they angry? Are the troops angry? How many of the troops know that the entire terror threat is basically manufactured?
Well, a lot of them. I think a lot of them do. I would add another to the mix. These private security contractors have gotten a bum rap. Look, in some cases, like with Blackwater, they deserve it, but not all of them are bad people. They saw this firsthand. A lot of these are ex-military active duty types themselves. They saw it, and they're very upset with what's going on now. What they saw, and just the fact that the U.S. looked the other way and in some cases actively promoted this violence.
But, I mean, take the British SAS troops I've got on screen right there. That's Paul's first article at Prison Planet, but it then came out in the Times of London that indeed they were doing this. They were caught by Iraqi police, and then there was a attack with tanks against the police station to free them. How do you get an SAS officer? I know SAS officers got caught running the IRA and staging a lot of attacks as a pretext to continue the occupation of Ireland. But how do you get U.S. forces, British forces, Israeli forces to bring in Taliban and Al-Qaeda to kill our own troops? I mean, that is just, I guess these are just total sociopaths?
I'm not sure they all are. Some of them obviously didn't know the difference between right and wrong. But let's face it, we know with the torture cases and the murder of detainees, the orders were coming from very high. They were coming out of Cheney's office. They were coming out of Rumsfeld's office. So if you're given an order, you face two options. You either follow the order or you get tagged as a whistleblower, and you may wind up as a victim yourself.
We know they fragged. Yeah. How many Army investigators and Marine investigators just of corruption have been killed?
I lost count. The worst one, of course, was Colonel Ted Westhousing, who was the top ethics professor at West Point, who brought up issues about fraud with a contractor, and they said he shot himself to death right before he was supposed to come back to the United States. I talked to his family, and they told me, they said flat out that did not happen with Colonel Westhousing. But he's just one of many.
Here's the question, Wayne. Are the criminals winning? We know they shipped in tens of billions in cash. They gave privates $30,000 a year. They gave colonels millions a year, generals untold amount to be part of the corruption. Then they said, now do these dirty deeds for no money or we're going to burn you. Has that corruption they tried to work, has that been successful in turning our military into a complete demon force to now be used here domestically?
Well, they prosecuted a few of these con men and these fraudsters, but not many. When you look at the amount of money, when they were kicking around, bundles with $100 bills. We don't know where all that money went, but we know it was billions involved, and we saw no effort to go after the people at the top. The Bernie Madoffs and the Skillings that were involved in this fraud have never really been brought to justice. I've never seen a CEO of one of these contracting organizations, from KBR, Halliburton to Khaki and the rest, prosecuted.
In closing, Wayne, we appreciate you spending time with us. I want you to have a great 4th of July coming up.
You too.
For the Republic.